Coastal zones have influenced human societies and natural environments since the beginning of time, and Cadboro Bay is no different. Caddy Bay, as the locals call it, has a rich history of both indigenous and colonial occupation. In fact, human use and development has played a significant role in shaping the ecological properties of Cadboro Bay as well as many of the biophysical processes that interact with it. However, this shaping is reciprocal. Throughout this presentation, the relationship between man and coast will become evident, but more importantly, you will begin to see how the community influences this coastal area, and this coastal area influences the community. Cadboro Bay is located in North America, in Canada, on the west coast in British Columbia, in the southeast corner of Vancouver Island, in the municipality of Saanich, and faces southeast towards the United States.
Cadboro Bay was named in 1937 after a Hudson's Bay Company ship named the Cadboro sailed into the bay. The Bay Area was historically home to the Songhees First Nations people who had villages in Gyro Park and the present-day location of the Royal Victoria Yacht Club. In 1850, 17 Hudson's Bay Company workers lived in the area and worked on farms in the uplands where the University of Victoria is located today. Cadboro Bay consisted mainly of farms, and in 1900 the area around the present-day location of Gyro Park was home to a resort. In 1920, the Cadboro Bay Hotel was opened and was a very popular tourist attraction until it was destroyed by a fire in 1930. The year 1920 saw the expansion of water mains into Cadboro Bay, which was a major reason for residential development. Cadboro Bay Village is a vibrant place with many friendly faces. The community and its residents are very involved with activities that occur year-round, such as Christmas carols and summer festivals. The village is home to numerous shops such as a bookstore, pharmacy, restaurants, coffee shops, gift shops, and a grocery store. There are many services available in Cadboro Bay, ranging from realtors, a pharmacy, a spa and hair salon, a wellness center, an optometry clinic, and an automobile repair shop. Gyro Park is an enjoyable place with sandy beaches and a large play area for children. It is located in Cadboro Bay Village and is walking distance from the University of Victoria. Here you will receive open views of the Juan de Fuca Strait and the Olympic Peninsula. The village's location near Gyro Park makes it a great place for families and people of all ages to visit. Cadboro Bay is used by locals and visitors for a variety of activities. The area is home to the Cadboro Bay Sailing Association, an organization where people can sail for leisure purposes or take part in competitive races. Many people own sailboats, but others can rent boats from the Sailing Association, which hosts racing and regatta events. The Royal Victoria Yacht Club has a clubhouse and dock in Cadboro Bay holding moorage for 375 boats. Established in 1892, the Royal Victoria Yacht Club is the oldest one in Western Canada. Aside from all the recreational activities, the beach is a pleasant area for people to relax and enjoy their surroundings. Gyro Park is the main concern of many residents in Cadboro Bay. These concerns are about underground flooding of water lines that service the park and their continual maintenance. This is of concern because the extensive underground services make development and maintenance of the park very difficult. The soils of the park are unstable peats, which have a high water table and is greatly affected by storm and tidal influences. Stakeholders for park development have described Gyro Park as a tired and neglected jewel that needs polish. A Gyro Park master plan has been developed to address and change environmental and recreational opportunities as well as maintenance requirements for the park. The stakeholders involved enjoy the protection provided by the trees, the field, the concrete play structures, and the beach, but have said that improvements could be made to develop the potential for greater recreational opportunities and to incorporate features that protect the ecologically sensitive areas. The goal of the master plan is to improve the connectivity between parks visitors and the waterfront area, as well as increase the number of community events in the park. Furthermore, the development seeks to improve emergency access, increase ecological integrity and respond to climate change, develop recreational activity, and improve emergency access. It is also important to recognize the heritage of First Nations in the area. As mentioned earlier, Cadboro Bay is historical First Nations territory. There's an ongoing dispute between the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations groups about historical land claims which flared up again in July 2012. The disputes are over land that these First Nations groups claim to be protected under the Douglas Treaties, but both the provincial and federal governments say this is not the case. In May 2013, the disputes will be heard in the BC Supreme Court.
Cadboro Bay's biophysical composition is influenced by first, second, and third order biophysical processes. On a first order level, the nature of the vegetation, coastline, ocean floor, upland areas, organisms, and even the exposure to other processes are determined by its historical climate variability and plate tectonics. For example, the convergence of oceanic and continental plates known as the Cascadia Subduction Zone created the arching Olympic mountain range to the south and Vancouver Island Mountains to the north and west of Cadboro Bay. In short, these mountains disrupt precipitation and wind patterns of the rugged North Pacific Ocean that would otherwise bring colder and wetter conditions to Cadboro Bay. This is just one example of how plate tectonics influence Cadboro's climate and weather as well as the coast itself. When compared to other coastal areas of Vancouver Island, Cadboro Bay experiences drier year-round, but most notably summer conditions. The rain shadow created by the Olympic and Vancouver Island Mountains gives Cadboro Bay a Mediterranean-like climate and is part of a larger region that contains two species found nowhere else in Canada. Both arbutus and Garry oak trees are specific to this larger region and can be seen surrounding Cadboro Bay. However, arbutus and Garry oak are not the only vegetation present. Cadboro Bay's rocky shoreline is dotted with Sitka spruce, which can withstand salt spray from the ocean, and other trees such as bigleaf maple and coastal Douglas fir. Of course, there is also non-native vegetation that Cadboro Bay residents enjoy for their aesthetic appeal. While many of the native animal and plant species have been removed or outcompeted, some have learned to survive in a fragmented environment. Black-tailed deer can be seen foraging in people's gardens, raccoons have learned to scavenge through waste bins, and there are plenty of birds that come and go seasonally. The products of second and third order processes can often be hard to distinguish. Each process, whether it is erosion or deposition, interacts with other processes like waves or tides. For example, Cadboro Bay is not a macrotidal area, however, it reaches depths of approximately 3.1 meters. This particular photo was taken during a spring tide, which occurred during full moons when the Earth, Moon, and Sun are in line, and had a high tide of 2.9 meters. If you look closely, what looks like untouched sand and algae bordering the ocean is actually the extent of the high tide. As the tides flood and ebb, marine debris such as bull kelp and other algae are removed and deposited on the beach. Without closer observation, identifying the specific process responsible for deposition and erosion can be difficult. However, this is not the only way debris or other material is eroded and deposited. To provide an example, this is one of many storm drains that pushes fresh water into the bay from surrounding upland coastal areas. The drain brings not only water runoff, but also lawn fertilizers, pesticides, cleaning liquids, and car fluid. The impenetrable nature of concrete roads, home foundations, and parking lots that surround Cadboro Bay results in accumulation of these toxic products in storm drain runoff. Of course, not all runoff is toxic chemicals. The storm drain feeds the bay with sediment, which is further deposited at the will of the longshore current and beach drift. Beach drift requires waves to contact the beach at an oblique angle, and on this particular day, however, there was no wind and in effect no waves. In fact, Cadboro Bay does not experience consistent high-energy wave action. In this way, it may be classified as a low-energy coastal area, although it is evident in this photo and others that this coastline does indeed experience high energy and storm surge events. This photo was taken by John Herbert on November 27, 2011, and clearly illustrates Cadboro Bay's vulnerability to storm surge and heightened wave action. The winter storm littered the beach with driftwood as well as smashed boats that were moored in the bay. It must be noted, however, that this is not a regular occurrence at Cadboro Bay, and there are a few key reasons why. On global, regional, and local scales, Cadboro Bay's geography, bathymetry, and wind patterns are what protect it from wave action and storm surge. For example, the entrance of Cadboro Bay between 10 Mile Point and the opposite headland is relatively shallow at approximately 8 meters. In the event of a storm large enough to produce any wave of consequence, the energy is first dissipated as the waves refract and explode onto the headlands. Secondly, the relatively shallow nature of Cadboro Bay and across such a distance causes waves to lose energy as they come into contact with the ocean floor. Cadboro Bay is located in the heart of the Salish Sea and faces southeast towards the United States. Because Cadboro Bay does not face the open ocean, there is little distance in which the wind can blow over the water. In other words, there is not enough fetch to entrain the energy needed to produce significant waves in Cadboro Bay. In addition, the predominant winds year-round blow across the bay rather than into it. However, as we have seen, with the right wind direction, strength, and length of time, significant waves and storm surge can be produced. In fact, the nature of winter storms produces strong winds from the southeast that blow directly into Cadboro Bay. Although sheltered from these winds by 5 small islands, Staines, Flower, Jemmy Jones, Chatham, and Discovery Islands, the residents of Cadboro Bay have constructed sea walls as a means of coastal arming to protect their property from potentially threatening storm surge events.
This presentation has shown that, like other coastal environments, Cadboro Bay is a dynamic environment influenced by both human use and natural processes. However, as mentioned earlier, the influencing is reciprocal. For example, the low-energy nature of Cadboro Bay provides an ideal setting for boat moorage at the yacht club, while, on the other hand, humans have altered the surrounding substrate, which determines the amount and type of surface runoff that feeds the bay. In other words, the coast shapes the community, and the community shapes the coast. All this aside, if it is not the social and cultural opportunity that Cadboro Bay and coastal areas in general provide, it is the coast's inherent, ever-changing beauty that is fundamental to the relationship of both humanity and the coast.